Zany Penguins, a small game. It's a card game, comes in a tin. I bought it at my friendly local game store as an impulse buy. I was simply attracted by the cover, and my daughter Amelia was with me, and she also thought that the cover was hilarious, so we just picked it up and what else? We decided to give it a try. And we're happy we did because we really enjoyed it. However, some things to say here. There are several mistakes here. This is reliable. The game lasts about 20 minutes, sometimes a little less. Number of players, 2 to 5, really 3 to 5. You can play with 2 with one of those dreaded variants in which you have fake / invisible / mechanical players. There are decks that represent 2 invisible players and you take cards from them and you give them cards. Blah. 3 players. 3 players is the minimum. In our family, that means that actually we managed to convince Mom to play. Mom doesn't always play, but we're like, look, Mom, we bought this game, we can really play it into. And so we convinced her to play it, and she, I don't know, does she like it? Well, let's just say, I think she would like it more if it wasn't then when we played. Amelia, my wife and I, she didn't always get let's say bronze medal. Sometimes I get the gold, sometimes Amelia gets the gold, but she always gets the bronze. So she likes the game, but she doesn't like that aspect so much. But well, we'll see if we can keep it up. 10 and up. My daughter made it 6, so when I bought it, I was like, is this appropriate? But it looked like there was no writing on it. And in fact, conceptually speaking, a 6-year-old can totally understand it. The strategy is not that obvious, but after we explained it to her, she also gets the strategy. So much so that she wins against my wife. Or at least she always gets a better position than my wife. The one thing is that actually you will end up having a fairly large hand of cards towards the end of the game, and that may be the only reason why you need a slightly older kid, or a slightly older kid will be more comfortable because an older kid has bigger hands. But definitely for a 6-year-old, it is a totally appropriate game in terms of complexity. And the art, the art is so adorable. The rules are very short, as you can see. And what you get is this deck of cards. I don't know why the tin is not even smaller, why there is this area here, there are no pawns or anything. It looks like they recycled this compartment here from another game. The cards represent Zany penguins with this completely adorable art. It has to be some of the most amusing art in any game, from the Napoleon penguin to the pirate penguin. My daughter Amelia's favorite one is the zombie penguin. So you have these penguins with numerical values and with different settings. They may be on the moon, in the desert, in the city, in the jungle. The one penguin which is cute but not entirely functional is this penguin here, on the Lex Luthor penguin on the giant robot, because sometimes it's not easy to tell the background, especially when it's like the moon. Then the background is almost entirely covered. The Yuna penguiner, the caveman, or the cave penguin. But this is a luchador. It's just funny, I love this art. So you have a deck of cards. Penguins with various numerical stats. The art is adorable and completely useless. All you need is simply the setting, the city, the jungle, the moon, and the numerical value. You shuffle this big deck and you give 18 cards to each player. That means that not all cards are in play in each game, and it's very important that, well, you have to kind of like make judgments, take risks, because you do not know if certain card stats you need to complete certain sets are in the game, are in play at all. So that there is a fun aspect there. So you shuffle all of these cards, you give 18 to each player. Let's suppose that these are 18 and these also are 18. It's amazing, I just got exactly 18 in both cases. So each player has a deck of cards, and each player takes 2 in their hands as their starting hand. And then each round goes as follows. Oh, I said that the game requires 3 players, so that is Mom's deck. So you have your hand of 2 cards at the beginning. All players play at the same time, so that's very cool, no downtime. Each player at the beginning of a turn takes 2 cards in their hand, and then you choose among your cards one that you will give to the player to the right, and you put it face down there, and one that you will give to the player to your left. and they will do the same with you. So each turn you will get two new hands in two new cards in your hand, which may be a combination of cards that you got from your deck, and also of course you will receive cards, but you know, sometimes the new cards are also the one that you kept. I don't know what I'm talking about. In any case, at the end of the exchange here, you will have two more cards in your hand than you had at the beginning. Then after each player adds the new cards to their hand, each player chooses a card and puts it face down. At that point, all players reveal their card at the same time, and they form sets with cards that they have played previously. So basically your hand will increase each turn, because each turn you get two new cards in your hand and you only put down one. And as I said, you form sets, so if there are cards of a certain environment that you already have, then you will place them together to form sets. Some cards have icons. If you play the card with the binocular, the next turn you get to see what the other players put down and reveal before you choose your own card, which can be extremely important. The twin card allows you to play two cards next time, and you have to play them. There are cases in which you regret doing that, because there are cases maybe you wanted to play only one. There's a third icon, and this is the only other special effect. The third icon with the bomb, and when that is revealed, it destroys the cards that were played of value, that have a value of 7 or higher. So this is the idea. As you can see, you will form sets, and the game continues until all decks are exhausted. At that point, you score points, and scoring is really neat. It has a lot of interesting subtleties. You have your big hand, and what do you score? You spend so much time doing these sets, and you don't score them. You don't score them at all. You score cards that are in your hand. You look for each environment to determine the player that has the majority. For example, here I have the majority of the North Pole, the players have like 5 or 6. Definitely I have the majority, because the total of the cards that I played in the North Pole is higher than anybody else. Then, for a location for which I had the majority, I get to score all the cards that are in my hand. So for example, I had the majority of the North Pole. Hooray! I get to score these two cards. And that was the case, I get to score these cards. Super neat. So when you have majority, you start piling up cards in your hand of that type. But then of course, remember, you have to give cards away. And this is why sometimes you're like, oh no, I don't want to play 2 cards. So because I have all the cards, it would be great to score if I could keep them. If you have a certain location but you not have the majority, suppose that my daughter Amelia has 10 on the moon and only a 5, then I only get to score the lowest card in my hand of that type. So in this case, I would only get to score the 4. Other strategy here, if I have a presence but I feel I don't have a majority, I'm going to try to stuff low value cards in other players' hands because I don't want them. Other thing is like, my daughter doesn't have the majority. Why don't I give her 2 in that environment? So if she doesn't get rid of it, then she'll get to score the 2 and not maybe another higher card that she has in her hand. And if you do not have any card of a certain location, then you score 0. It's that simple. Get 2 cards, give 2 away, get 2 in your hand, play 1, form sets. And at the end, the majority simply allows you to score different cards in your hand. All of them for total majority, the lowest without the majority, nothing if you have nothing. It's that simple. A very simple game. A 6-year-old can understand it, a 6-year-old can play it, and a 6-year-old can play it well. My daughter is pretty good at it. She got a little confused at the beginning because she simply wanted to have a huge majority. She would not keep cards of that type in her hand, but now she's figured it out and she's pretty good at this game. And this idea of like the majority that doesn't score per se, to me is really smart. It makes this game like really solid, and it's such a simple idea, but it creates an interesting dilemma there because, well, you need to just be a little bit ahead of somebody else. You don't want to have a huge majority because probably you have emptied your hand. So the safer is your majority, the less you score. The more The narrower is your majority, the more cards of that type you still have in your hand, and the more dangerous it is. Now, you may think that therefore the last turn can be full of surprises because people may simply stick in a card that will take a majority from you, a majority that you have built throughout the entire game. And that's a mistake that my wife usually makes. Now she doesn't do it anymore because she has figured out that we have figured it out, and we simply make her lose because of that. Because we clearly see the one majority that she has. She puts all of her penguin eggs in a single basket, and at the end, boom, we play a high card and take the majority. So I really like the psychology and the strategy that the game forces the players to adopt due to this simple idea. Majority doesn't give you points. You score what you have in your hand. Really nice, because there is that tension, there is a push your luck. I want the narrowest possible majority and the largest possible cards of that type in my hand, but that means that I am at risk and somebody else may take my majority. If you specialize in only one type of thing, it's super dangerous unless you really have such a huge advantage. So you're trying to play on different tables, but of course you will not be able to have majority in all places, in all locations. Choosing which cards to give away can be really tough because maybe all of your cards are good, or you see that a card that you give to somebody would give them a majority in a place that you have. Suppose that I only have urban cards in my hand right now, and I have the majority in urban cards, but whichever I give you, if you play that one, you're going to take it away from me. So now all of my hand is useless because I only get to score a single card. So from deciding which cards you give away, and then most importantly to decide which card you put down, they're very interesting decisions. There are enough layers of decision to make this game very interesting, which is amazing, way beyond my expectations. We had so much fun playing this game, a game that Mom is passionate about, and she's gonna keep playing it, compulsively at least until she wins. So we'll be playing it for a while. Zany Penguins is a small game. I don't remember how much I paid for it, but it was fairly inexpensive. Small, portable, very fun. Definitely a solid, enjoyable game with more levels of decision than I expected, with absolutely adorable art, and a game that really is a family game because a child can play it, an adult can play it, and people will see different things in it, but definitely it is enjoyable. The one negative thing, again, you really need at least 3 players, not 2, so it makes it a little less flexible. There are certain contexts in which you will not be able to play it. Other than that, Zany Penguins is a real winner. A small little game, but a really nice one. In this category of like filler-ish type of games, definitely an enjoyable one.